everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree, but most people call me Des. Feel free to call me whichever. I am back with another video talking about split ends and single strand knots. This was a requested video, so I'm just going to get right into it. Now, if you don't know what single strand knots are, it's literally one individual hair that knots on itself. It happens to me all the time, and I'm constantly having to cut them out. As far as split ends and single strand knots, you can't really do much about them. Once damaged hair is damaged, that's that. Unless you cut it out, it's not going to get any better. So you are just going to have to get to that point where you suck it up and cut it. As far as preventing split ends and single strand knots, keeping your hair moisturized is key. I know you guys have probably heard this 1,000 times, but it's true. Your hair must be moisturized in order to avoid having split ends or single strand knots. If you notice that you are getting single strand knots all the time, cut them with hair shears, okay? Not just regular scissors, kitchen scissors, school scissors, none of that. Get actual shears and cut your hair. If you cut your hair with any other type of scissors, it actually can damage your hair even more, which is something that we do not want. Also, if you find that you have single strand knots and you're just pulling them or snapping your hair, that also leads to split ends. Don't do that. Seriously, if you're detangling your hair, if you're finger detangling your hair and you notice you have split ends or single strand knots and you're just pulling it off, that is so much worse to your hair because it's not a clean cut. You're just ripping your hair out, which is not good. Also, to avoid split ends, trim when you need to. I'm not saying trim every 2, 3, 4 months, whenever. Listen to your hair. And I did say this in another video, but listening to your hair is key to avoiding split ends and single strand knots. If you feel like your hair needs to be trimmed, if you feel like your ends are a complete different texture than the rest of your hair, you have to trim your hair, okay? It's better to trim as you go instead of having to cut inches off every 6 months. Your hair will tell you, hey, I'm dry. Hey, I'm brittle. Cut me. Listen to it. Just cut your hair, okay? It will grow back. It's not that big of a deal. At the end of the day, you don't want to grow out damaged hair as well. Also, along with keeping your hair moisturized, deep conditioning and protein treatments are huge and should be a very big part in taking care of your natural hair. I deep condition once a week with a heat cap, and I absolutely love it. I've noticed such a difference in my hair. It's just softer, shinier, healthier, all of the above. And protein treatments are also very important. Protein is what helps build your hair. It's what helps keeps it strong. And if you feel your hair is weak or if it's snapping very easily, then it might be time for a protein treatment. A lot of the times when I know my hair needs one is when it's very hard for me to detangle my hair, or if my hair just feels rough, I'm like, okay, I need some rice water in my hair. I will be making a video on how I make my rice water and the different uses of it, so keep an eye out for that. Also, when it comes to single strand knots, search and destroy. When I say this, I mean taking the time out to actually go through your whole head of hair, searching for those single strand knots and cutting them. Now, if you were to just feel single strand knots throughout a section of your hair and then just trim that whole section, that's a waste of trimming a whole section, especially when it doesn't need to be trimmed. It's only the single strand knot that needs to get cut out. What I like to do is, every once in a while, if I feel like my hair just has a ton of single strand knots, I will just go through sections of my hair, small sections, and I will find the individual strand of hair that is knotted on itself, and I will cut it. And this helps so much because you will actually physically feel your hair softer when you're done cutting it. Another way that you can avoid single strand knots is keeping your hair stretched. I know a lot of people don't like to stretch their hair, especially because a lot of the times most people recommend using heat to stretch your hair, as in a blow dryer, and like let's say you pull this section and then blow dry it to stretch it. You don't have to do that to stretch your hair. There are so many different ways to stretch your hair. Lately I've been doing the banding method, which I will be showing in another video different ways to stretch your hair and how to keep it nice and long and to retain length, because a lot of people stretch their hair just to retain length, and I've noticed that my hair is not only bigger when I stretch it, but I have had less single strand knots, which is huge because my hair coils up so much and I usually get single strand knots all the time. And it gets very annoying having to cut and cut and cut the single strand knots out of my head. So keeping your hair stretched, banding method, stretching with heat, there's so many different ways to stretch it, but it really does help because it's keeping the longer part of your hair elongated. It kind of prevents the individual hairs knotting up on themselves because your hair is already in this stretched state. It's not coiling up on itself as much when it's stretched, so it just minimizes the single strand knots. Along with that, make sure your hair is properly detangled. If you're like me, I love to finger detangle my hair, but sometimes when my hair needs a comb, it needs a comb. So sometimes I will use a comb in my hair, not all the time if I feel like my fingers have done its job. But don't be afraid to use a comb or use a brush to detangle your hair if you feel like your fingers are just not detangling your hair enough. There is no issue with that. The only issue is when you start to use a comb every single day and you're detangling every single day. That is a problem. You should not be manipulating your hair that much because that's also very damaging to it. Once in a while, I do like to detangle with a wide tooth comb. The only time I use a brush is if I'm doing a twist out or a braid out where I need my hair to be smooth so that my hair looks good the next day. But it's okay to use a comb. Don't be afraid to. Just make sure your hair is detangled. If not, more single strand knots and also more split ends can happen as well. So to wrap things up, I know this was a short video, but I'm just going to go over what I discussed in the video. Cut your hair if it's damaged, trim it regularly, search and destroy those single strand knots, keep your hair moisturized, deep condition, use protein treatments. All those things will really help you in preventing single strand knots and split ends. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a lot shorter than my other ones, but I really just want to get straight to the point with this. I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.